A kid's hand reaches for the wrong car. Bumpy watches from across the street. Everyone expects blood. What happens instead becomes the story Harlem never forgets. Chapter 1. The Wrong Move. The Cadillac sits under the afternoon sun like a statement. Black, polished, chrome so clean it mirrors the brownstones across the street. It's parked outside JoJo's Diner on 145th, engine off. Windows cracked just enough to let the spring air through. No one touches it. In Harlem, you learn early. Some cars aren't just cars. They're signals, markers, lines you don't cross unless you're ready for what comes next. But the boy doesn't know that yet. He's 12, maybe 13. Worn sneakers, jacket 2 sizes too big, shoulders hunched like he's trying to disappear into himself. He's been circling the block for 10 minutes, pretending to walk, no pretending to look at nothing. But his eyes keep coming back to the Cadillac. The door's unlocked. He saw the driver leave it that way. Confident, careless maybe. Inside the diner, Bumpy Johnson sits in the corner booth. Same spot, every Tuesday. Eggs, toast, coffee. The waitress knows not to rush him. The owner knows not to seat anyone too close. It's not a rule anyone wrote down. It's just understood. Bumpy's in his 50s now. Gray touches his temples. His suit is dark, pressed sharp, tie knotted tight even in the heat. He eats slowly, deliberately. A man who's never had to hurry for anything. But his eyes aren't on his plate. They're on the window, on the boy. The kid glances left, glances right. His hand moves toward the car door. The street doesn't gasp. It inhales, pulls all its sound inward. Saw the old man selling newspapers 2 stores down stops mid-sentence. A woman halfway across the street freezes, grocery bag hanging from her wrist. Even the wind seems to wait. Everyone knows whose car that is. Everyone but the boy. His fingers touch the handle. Inside the diner, Bumpy sets his fork down. Doesn't drop it, doesn't slam it. Just places it beside his plate with the kind of calm that's louder than shouting. The boy pulls the door open. Smooth, quiet. He ducks his head inside, reaching for the glove compartment, hands shaking but committed now. There's a watch on the dash, leather seats that smell like money. He doesn't know what he's looking for, but he knows it's here. Something worth enough to change things. Bumpy stands. He doesn't rush, doesn't bark orders. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a $5 bill, and then places it on the table. More than the meal costs. He always tips well. Then he buttons his jacket. One button, slow, smooth, and walks toward the door. The bell above the diner entrance chimes soft as a whisper. The boy hears it. He freezes, hand still inside the glove compartment, body half in, half out of the car. He turns his head and sees Bumpy Johnson walking toward him. Not fast, not slow, just steady, like a man who's already decided how this ends. The boy's breath catches. He knows that walk. Every kid in Harlem knows that walk. It's the kind of approach that doesn't need a weapon, doesn't need a threat. It just is. He pulls his hand back, stumbles out of the car. The door swings shut behind him, and he stands there, trapped between the Cadillac and the curb. Nowhere to run that matters. Then Bumpy stops 3 feet away. Doesn't touch him, doesn't raise his voice, just looks at him. Eyes calm, heavy. The kind of stare that weighs you down without pressing. The street is silent. No one moves. No one pretends not to watch. The boy's lips tremble. He's ready to beg. Ready to cry. Ready for fists, a gun. A lesson taught the way Harlem teaches lessons when you cross the wrong man. But Bumpy doesn't hit him. He tilts his head just slightly and asks one question. Where's your mother? Chapter 2. Harlem's Unspoken Law. The boy doesn't answer right away. His mouth opens, closes. He's trying to figure out if it's a trick question, if there's a right answer that keeps him breathing. Bumpy waits. He's good at waiting. Always has been. Patience is power. Panic is weakness. And right now, the boy's drowning in panic while Bumpy stands dry. I said, where's your mother? The words come out steady, not loud, not soft, just clear. The kind of voice that doesn't need repetition because you heard it the first time, even if fear made you freeze. The boy swallows hard. Home, he whispers. Bumpy nods, once slow. Then we'll go see her. The boy's eyes go wide. That's worse than a beating. That's the nightmare scenario. Bumpy Johnson showing up at your mother's door. But Bumpy's already turning, walking back toward the diner. He doesn't grab the boy, doesn't drag him, just expects him to follow, and the boy does. Because in Harlem, when Bumpy Johnson says follow, you follow. People don't understand how Bumpy built what he built. They see the suits, the cars, the way rooms quiet when he enters. They think it's all muscle, all fear, all blood on the pavement and bodies that don't come back. But that's not the foundation. Fear cracks. Violence burns hot and fades fast. You can't build an empire on terror alone, because terror makes enemies and enemies make mistakes, and mistakes make chaos. Bumpy built his Harlem on structure, on rules, on the understanding that if you lived in his world, you lived under his order. And his order kept you safer than the alternative. The police, they didn't care. They'd roll through, crack skulls, take bribes, and leave the neighborhood bleeding. The outsiders, the Italians, the Irish, the anyone else who wanted a piece, they saw Harlem as territory to strip and abandon. Bumpy saw it as home, and in his home there were laws. You didn't steal from your own. You didn't deal to kids. You didn't put hands on women. You didn't disrespect the elders. You didn't break the peace unless the peace was already broken. And if you did, Bumpy didn't just punish you. He reminded everyone why the rules existed in the first place. That's why the street went silent when the boy touched that car. It wasn't about the Cadillac. It wasn't even about the theft. It was about a kid who didn't know the laws trying to break them in broad daylight. And if Bumpy let that slide, the structure cracked. The order wobbled, and the next kid would try something worse. So Bumpy couldn't let it slide. But he also didn't have to destroy the boy to make the point. That's the part people miss. Bumpy had options. He always had options. Violence was one. But violence was also the laziest choice. The loudest. The one that made headlines and brought heat and burned bridges you might need later. Smart power's quiet. Smart power looks past the moment and sees the years ahead. And Bumpy Johnson was the smartest man in the room. Always. They walk in silence. Bumpy in front, the boy 3 steps behind, hands shoved in his pockets, head down. A few people see them pass. They nod at Bumpy. Don't say a word. Just acknowledgement, respect. The boy feels every eye on him. He knows what they're thinking. That's the kid who tried to steal from Bumpy. He's a story now, a cautionary tale. The kind older brothers tell younger ones when they start getting ideas. They turn onto 139th. Narrow street. Laundry hanging from fire escapes. Kids playing stickball 3 buildings down. The game stops when Bumpy appears. Not out of fear, out of respect. One of the kids waves. Bumpy nods back. Keeps walking. The boy's apartment is halfway down the block. 4th floor, no elevator. Bumpy climbs the stairs without complaint. His shoes click on each step. Steady. Relentless. The boy's breathing hard by the 2nd floor. Not from the climb, from the dread. They reach the door. Faded green paint. Number 4 see hanging crooked from one screw. The boy stops, looks at Bumpy. One last silent plea. Bumpy just looks at the door. The boy knocks, soft at first. Then louder when no one answers. Footsteps inside. Slow, tired. The door opens. A woman stands there. Mid-30s, but looks older. Hair tied back, grease-stained apron, eyes that have seen too many long shifts and not enough sleep. She's holding a dish towel, halfway through cleaning something. She sees her son, and then she sees Bumpy Johnson, and her face goes pale. The dish towel slips from her hand. Bumpy takes off his hat. "Mrs. Carter," he says quietly. "May I come in?" It's not a question, but it's asked like one. She steps aside. Bumpy walks in. The boy follows. The door closes behind them, and Harlem holds its breath. Chapter 3. The Choice. The apartment is small. One main room that tries to be a kitchen, a living room, and a dining room all at once. A couch with sunken cushions, a table with two mismatched chairs, a hot plate on the counter next to a stack of dishes that haven't been washed yet. It smells like coffee and old soap and something cooking that's been stretched too thin to feed enough people. There's a photo on the wall, a man in a military uniform, smiling, young. The frame's dusty, but the glass is clean. Someone's been wiping it down, keeping it clear. Bumpy notices. He always notices. Mrs. Carter stands near the table, hands gripping the back of a chair like it's the only thing keeping her upright. Her son stands by the door, head down, eyes on the floor. Bumpy doesn't sit, not yet. He just stands in the center of the room, hat in his hands, looking around. Not judging, just observing, taking it in. Your husband? He asks, nodding toward the photo. Mrs. Carter's voice cracks when she answers. Korea didn't come back. Bumpy nods slow. I'm sorry. He means it. You can hear it. It's not a line, not a performance, just a man who's lost people offering respect to someone else who has too. Mrs. Carter's hands tighten on the chair. Mr. Johnson, she starts. Her voice is shaking. And if my boy did something, if he disrespected you, I swear I didn't raise him that way. I've been working doubles. I haven't been watching him close enough. But I'll handle it. Please, he's all I've got. She's not begging, not quite. But she's close. Bumpy holds up a hand. Gentle. Stopping her before she goes further. He tried to steal from my car, Bumpy says. The words land like stones. Mrs. Carter closes her eyes. Her knees buckle just slightly. She catches herself on the chair. The boy flinches, doesn't look up. Bumpy watches them both. Calm, patient. You know what that means, he says. Not to her, not to the boy, just to the room. Mrs. Carter nods. She knows. Everyone knows. In Bumpy's Harlem, you don't steal from your own. You don't cross the man who keeps the neighborhood standing. And if you do, there's a price. And she's waiting for him to name it. But Bumpy doesn't. Instead, he walks over to the table, pulls out one of the chairs, sits down slow, places his hat on the table in front of him. Then he looks at the boy. Come here. The boy's eyes flick to his mother. She nods, just barely. He walks over, stops a foot away from the table. Still won't look Bumpy in the eye. Bumpy leans back in the chair, folds his hands in his lap. What's your name? The boy's voice is barely a whisper. Marcus. Marcus, Bumpy repeats. Lets it sit in the air. Why'd you try to take from my car, Marcus? The boy's throat works. He's trying to find words that won't make it worse. I didn't know it was yours. That's not what I asked. Silence. Bumpy waits. Finally, the boy speaks. Quiet, ashamed. We needed money. Rent's late. Mama's been working, but it's not enough. I thought if I could get something worth enough, I could help. Mrs. Carter's hand goes to her mouth. She didn't know. He never told her. Bumpy's face doesn't change. He just listens. You thought stealing from a stranger was going to fix that? Marcus shakes his head. I didn't know what else to do. Bumpy leans forward, just a little. His voice stays even. So, your plan was to steal, get caught, maybe get hurt, maybe get killed, and leave your mother with nothing but a dead son and the same bills she had before. Marcus's face crumples. He's barely holding it together. That sound like helping to you? The boy shakes his head. Tears start to fall. He wipes them fast, angry at himself for crying. Bumpy doesn't mock him, doesn't push harder. He just lets the lesson land. And then he turns to Mrs. Carter. How much is rent? She blinks, confused. What? How much do you owe? Mr. Johnson, I can't. How much? Her voice is small. $65, but I'll have it. I just need another week. Bumpy reaches into his jacket. Mrs. Carter tenses. The boy takes a step back. But Bumpy pulls out a wallet. Leather, worn smooth. He opens it, counts out bills. Slow, methodical. He places them on the table. $75. Mrs. Carter stares at the money like it might disappear. That covers rent, Bumpy says. And groceries. She doesn't move, doesn't touch it, just stares. I don't understand. Bumpy stands, picks up his hat, doesn't put it on yet, just holds it. Your boy made a mistake, he says. But he made it for the right reason. Wrong method, right heart. He looks at Marcus now. Son, the boy's still crying, still shaking. You wanted to help your mother, I respect that. But stealing doesn't help. It makes things worse, you understand? Marcus nods. Fast, desperate. You want to help her? You do it the right way. You work. You earn. You build. That's how you take care of family. Bumpy turns back to Mrs. Carter. Where do you work? Laundromat on Lenox, and I clean offices at night. Bumpy nods, thinking. The laundromat? Who owns it? Mr. Weston. I know him. Bumpy pauses. You're good at your job. Mrs. Carter straightens. Just a little. Yes, sir. Then you'll start at the restaurant on 142nd. Monday, day shift. Better hours, better pay. I'll make the call. Mrs. Carter's legs give out. She sits hard in the chair, hands shaking. Mr. Johnson, your boy, Bumpy continues, looking at Marcus, is going to work too, not for money, for principle. There's a youth program. Reverend Clay runs it, teaches discipline, structure, keeps boys off the streets and out of trouble. Marcus is going to attend, every day after school. Understood? Marcus nods so hard his whole body moves. Bumpy puts his hat on now, adjusts it. Smooth, practiced. You crossed a line today, Marcus, he says. Voice low, serious. In another life, that would have ended different. But you've got a mother who loves you, and you tried to do right, even if you did it wrong. So I'm giving you a chance. 1. He steps closer, looks the boy dead in the eyes. Don't make me regret it. Marcus nods. Can't speak. Just nods. Bumpy turns toward the door. Mrs. Carter stands, stumbles forward. Why? She asks, voice breaking. Why are you doing this? Bumpy pauses. Hand on the doorknob. He doesn't turn around. Because Harlem's only strong if we take care of our own, he says. Your husband fought for this country, died for it. That means something. You're working yourself to the bone to raise your boy right. That means something, too. He opens the door, steps into the hallway. Then he stops, looks back. Don't miss Monday. And he's gone. The door closes. Mrs. Carter collapses into the chair. The money's still on the table, untouched, real. Marcus stands frozen, not sure if he's been saved or sentenced, maybe both. Outside, Bumpy walks down the stairs. Same steady pace, same calm. Behind him, Harlem breathes again. Chapter 4. The conversation that changed everything. Word spreads fast. By the time Bumpy reaches the street, half the block already knows. And not because anyone was in that apartment, but because this is Harlem. Walls are thin, eyes are sharp. And when Bumpy Johnson walks into a building, people pay attention to what walks out. The boy's alive. The mother's not crying. And Bumpy left the same way he came in. Calm, clean, unbothered. That alone is a story. But the real story, the one that'll get whispered in barbershops and beauty salons, the one that'll reach every corner of the neighborhood by sundown, that story is something else. Because Bumpy Johnson didn't just spare the boy. He helped him. And that changes everything. Monday morning comes cold and early. Mrs. Carter stands outside the restaurant on 142nd, hands smoothing down her cleanest dress. It's faded, worn at the hems, but it's pressed. She ironed it twice the night before, couldn't sleep, and kept thinking this was a dream, that she'd show up and no one would know her name. But when she walks through the door, the manager's already waiting. Mrs. Carter, she nods, throat tight. Mr. Johnson called. Said you'd be starting today. He hands her an apron, clean, folded. Lunch shift, 11 to 6. Thursdays off. 50 cents more an hour than your last job. You start now. She takes the apron, holds it like it's made of gold. Thank you, she whispers. The manager shrugs. No, don't thank me. Thank him. She does, silently. Every single day after. Marcus starts at Reverend Clay's program that same afternoon. The church basement on 138th, 20 other boys his age, some younger, some older. All of them sent there for the same reason. Mothers who couldn't watch them every second, streets that swallowed boys whole, now in a neighborhood that needed its sons to survive long enough to become men. Reverend Clay is old, gray beard, voice like gravel and thunder. He doesn't smile much, but his eyes are kind, tough kind. The kind that says, I see you and I'm not letting you fall. He sees Marcus walk in, sees the shame still sitting heavy on his shoulders. You the boy Bumpy sent? Marcus nods. Reverend Clay studies him, long, quiet. Then he hands him a broom. Start with the floor. When you're done, we'll talk. Marcus sweeps. Slow at first, then faster. He sweeps like he's trying to erase something. Like if he works hard enough, the mistake will disappear. It won't. Reverend Clay knows that. But the work helps. The structure helps. The routine helps. By the end of the first week, Marcus stops looking at the ground when he walks. By the end of the first month, he's helping the younger kids with their homework. By the end of the first year, he's the one handing out brooms to the new boys who walk in with shame on their shoulders. But that's later. Right now, it's only been 3 days since Bumpy walked out of that apartment. And Bumpy's sitting in his office above the club on 7th Avenue, going through the week's numbers. Money from the runners, payments from the policy banks, protection fees from the businesses that want to stay protected. It's all clean, all tracked. Bumpy's meticulous. Always has been. You don't stay on top by being sloppy. There's a knock at the door. Come. One of his men steps in. Young, loyal. Sharp enough to last, but not ambitious enough to be dangerous. Nah, got someone downstairs wants to see you. Bumpy doesn't look up from the ledger. Who? Mrs. Carter. Now Bumpy looks up. Send her up. The man leaves. A minute later, Mrs. Carter walks in. She's still in her work clothes, apron folded over her arm. She looks nervous, out of place, but she's here. Bumpy stands. Gestures to the chair across from his desk. Sit. She does. Perches on the edge like she might need to run. Bumpy sits back down. Folds his hands on the desk. Waits. Mrs. Carter takes a breath. I wanted to thank you, she says, for the job, for Marcus, for everything. Bumpy nods. You're welcome. Silence. She's not done. He can see it. There's something else she came to say. Why? She asks finally, voice quiet. I've been trying to understand. You didn't have to do any of it. You could have. You had every right to. She can't finish. Doesn't need to. Bumpy leans back in his chair, studies her. Not cold, not warm, just present. You know why your boy tried to steal from me? She nods. The rent. He told me. He was trying to take care of you. He was wrong. He was, Bumpy agrees. But his heart was right. You understand the difference? Mrs. Carter nods slowly. Bumpy stands, walks over to the window, looks out over Harlem, the rooftops, the streets, the people moving like blood through veins. This neighborhood, he says, it's not perfect. It's poor. It's struggling. The city doesn't care about it. The police don't protect it. And the people who do have power, they're usually taking, not giving. He turns back to her. But it's ours. And if we don't take care of our own, no one will. Mrs. Now Carter's eyes well up. She blinks the tears back. Your husband died for this country, Bumpy continues. Gave everything. And what did you get? A flag, a letter, and a pension that don't even cover rent. He walks back to the desk, sits on the edge of it, closer now. I can't bring him back. Can't fix what the world did to you. But I can make sure his son don't end up dead in an alley because no one showed him another way. Mrs. Carter's voice breaks. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. The words are firm, not harsh, just final. Because if I don't, the neighborhood falls apart. If I let a boy steal and do nothing, 10 more try it next week. If I let a mother work herself to death and do nothing, her son grows up angry. Angry boys make bad choices. Bad choices make bodies. He pauses. I didn't help you out of kindness, Mrs. Hush, Carter. I helped you because it's good business. Strong families make strong blocks. Strong blocks make a strong Harlem, and a strong Harlem keeps everyone safer. She stares at him, trying to understand. But it was kind, she says softly. Bumpy almost smiles. Almost. Maybe, he says, but don't mistake it for weakness. Mrs. Carter shakes her head. I would never. Bumpy nods. Good. She stands, steadier now. I won't let you down, Mr. Johnson, and neither will Marcus. I know. She turns to leave, gets to the door, stops. If there's ever anything I can do, there is, Bumpy says. She turns back. Raise your son right. Teach him respect. Teach him discipline. Teach him that power without principle is just violence. And violence burns out fast. He looks at her directly now. You do that and we're even. Mrs. Carter nods, once, firm. Yes, sir. She leaves. Bumpy watches the door close. Then he walks back to the window. Down below, the neighborhood moves, lives, survives. And somewhere in it, a boy's learning how to be a man. Not through fear, through structure. That's the legacy Bumpy's building. Not the one they'll write about in newspapers. Not the one the police keep in their files. The real one. The one that lasts. Chapter 5. The Long Game. 6 months pass. Mrs. Carter doesn't miss a shift. Not one. She shows up early, stays late when they need her, learns every corner of that restaurant like it's her own. The manager stops checking on her after the first month. She's reliable, steady, the kind of worker you build a team around. She saves money, real money. For the first time in years, she's not choosing between rent and food. No, she's not lying awake at 3 in the morning doing math that never adds up. She opens a savings account at the bank on Lennox, deposits $20 the first month, $25 the second. By the 6th month, she's got over $200 sitting there, untouched, safe. It's not a fortune, but it's a foundation, and foundations matter. Marcus changes too, not overnight, not in some dramatic movie moment kind of way, but slowly, steadily. He stops ditching school, starts showing up to Reverend Clay's program without being reminded. He listens, watches, learns. The Reverend teaches him discipline, structure, how to carry yourself, how to speak with respect but without submission, how to stand your ground without swinging fists. But more than that, he teaches him why it matters. Every choice you make, Reverend Clay tells him one afternoon while they're stacking chairs, is a brick. You can build a house or a prison. Same bricks, different choices. Marcus doesn't forget that. He starts tutoring younger kids in math. Turns out he's good at it. Patient, clear. The kids listen to him because he doesn't talk down to them. He remembers what it's like to feel stupid, to feel lost. One day a boy tries to pick a fight with him outside the church, pushes him, calls him soft, dares him to swing. Marcus doesn't. He just looks at the kid, calm, steady. You want to fight, go ahead, but I'm not giving you a reason to. The kid's confused, angry. He pushes again. Marcus still doesn't move, and eventually the kid walks away. Reverend Clay watches the whole thing from the doorway, doesn't say a word. Just nods once when Marcus comes back inside. That's when Marcus understands. Strength isn't just muscle, it's control. And control is what separates men from boys. Bumpy doesn't check in often. He doesn't need to. He's got eyes everywhere. He hears things, knows things. The neighborhood talks, and the neighborhood tells him everything. He hears Mrs. Carter's doing well, that she's proud, that she walks a little taller now. He hears Marcus is staying out of trouble, that the Reverend speaks highly of him, that the kid's got a future if he doesn't screw it up. Bumpy doesn't say anything, doesn't send messages, doesn't ask for updates, but he's watching, always watching. One evening, Bumpy's in the barber shop on 142nd, getting a trim. The barber's talking about his daughter, about college, about how expensive everything is. Bumpy listens, pays, tips heavy. As he's leaving, he sees Marcus across the street, walking with a stack of books under his arm. Head up, focused. Bumpy pauses. The boy doesn't see him, doesn't need to. Bumpy just watches him walk past, watches him disappear around the corner. Then he gets in his car and drives away. But not everyone is happy about what Bumpy did. There are people, other men in the game, younger men with sharper edges and shorter fuses, who think Bumpy's going soft. They talk, quietly, carefully, never loud enough for him to hear directly, but loud enough that it gets back to him eventually. He let that kid walk, one of them says over drinks. Disrespected his car and walked. What kind of message does that send? That you can cross him and live, another adds. That's a dangerous message. They're not wrong. Not entirely. In their world, mercy looks like weakness. Forgiveness looks like fear. And weakness gets you killed. But they're also not seeing the full picture. Because Bumpy's not playing their game. He's playing a longer one. 3 weeks after those conversations, one of the men who questioned Bumpy's decision gets picked up by the police. Caught with stolen goods, arrested, charged. No bail. 2 weeks after that, another one loses his corner. Bumpy's people move in. Quiet, clean, no violence, just pressure. The kind you can't fight because you can't see where it's coming from. It's not coincidence, it's consequence. Bumpy doesn't make speeches, doesn't call meetings, doesn't explain himself. He just reminds people, quietly, strategically, that questioning his judgment is a mistake, and the whispers stop. A year passes. Carter gets promoted. Assistant manager now. More responsibility, more pay. She moves out of the old apartment, not far, just a few blocks. But it's bigger, cleaner, windows that actually open. A room for Marcus that's more than just a corner with a mattress. Marcus is 15 now, taller, broader, still quiet. But the fear is gone, replaced with something steadier, something solid. He's working part-time at a grocery store on weekends, saving money, talking about trade school, maybe carpentry, maybe mechanics. He's good with his hands, good at fixing things. He doesn't talk about that day, the day he tried to steal from Bumpy's car. Doesn't need to, but he thinks about it. Every time he cashes a paycheck, every time he helps his mother with bills, every time he walks past a car and doesn't even glance inside. He thinks about what could have happened and what did. One Sunday afternoon, Marcus is walking home from the store, bag of groceries in his arms, the sun's setting. Harlem's golden in that late daylight, peaceful. He's almost to his building when he sees the Cadillac. Same one. Parked at the curb, black, polished, gleaming. His chest tightens. He stops, stares at it. All the memories flooding back. Then the driver's door opens. Bumpy steps out. He's older now. Gray's taken over most of his hair. But the suit's still sharp. The walk's still steady. The presence is still there. Marcus freezes. Bumpy looks at him. Doesn't smile, doesn't frown. Just looks. Then he nods. Once, small. Almost invisible. But Marcus sees it, and he nods back. Bumpy gets back in the car. Starts the engine. Pulls away smooth and slow. Marcus watches until the taillights disappear around the corner. Then he keeps walking. Head up, steady. Later that night, Mrs. Carter asks him why he's so quiet. Marcus shrugs. Just thinking. About what? He looks at her. Really looks. Sees the woman who worked herself raw to keep him alive. Who never gave up. Who raised him even when the world gave her every reason to quit. About how lucky we are, he says. She smiles, soft, warm. Yeah, she says. We are. They don't talk about Bumpy. They don't need to. But they both know. Some debts aren't about money, they're about life. And some men don't just take, they build, brick by brick, choice by choice, family by family. That's the real power, the kind that lasts. Chapter 6. Legacy over fear. 10 years later. Harlem looks different. The streets are the same, but the faces have changed. Some have left, some have died, some have just grown older, moved slower, taken their place on the stoops where the elders used to sit. Bumpy Johnson is in his 60s now. The sharpness is still there. in his eyes, in his walk, in the way he moves through the neighborhood like he owns it. Because in every way that matters, he does. But time touches everyone. His hands shake slightly when he lights a cigarette. His boo is slower. He doesn't climb stairs like he used to. Doesn't stay up all night handling business. He's built a machine that runs without him having to turn every gear himself. That's wisdom. That's survival. The young lions are circling. They always do. Hungry, ambitious, thinking the old man's lost a step, thinking maybe it's time for someone new to take the crown. Bumpy knows. No, he always knows. But he's not worried, because the neighborhood isn't held together by fear anymore. It's held together by roots, and roots go deep. Marcus Carter's 25 now. He's not the scared kid with shaking hands reaching into a car he shouldn't touch. He's a man, solid, grounded. The kind of man people look at and see competence, see reliability. He owns a small auto repair shop on 143rd Street. It's not big. 3 bays, 1 employee, a kid from the neighborhood Marcus took on as an apprentice. The sign above the door is hand-painted but clean. Professional. Carter and Son Auto Repair. There is no son yet, but there will be. Marcus is engaged. Wedding's in 6 months. His fiancée works as a nurse at Harlem Hospital. Smart, strong, the kind of woman his mother prayed he'd find. They met at church, Reverend Clay's church. Marcus still goes. Every Sunday, sits in the back, listens. Sometimes he helps with the youth program, talks to the boys who remind him of himself, the ones who are angry, lost, looking for shortcuts. He tells them the same thing Bumpy never said out loud, but showed him anyway. The shortcut is the long way. You steal today, you pay tomorrow. You work today, you build tomorrow, your choice. Most of them don't listen the first time, but some do. And the ones who don't, they come back later. After they've made the mistake. After they've felt the weight of the consequences. And Marcus is there. Still. Steady. Just like someone was for him. The shop does well. Not because Marcus undercuts prices or sweet-talks customers, but because he's good. He knows engines, knows systems, knows how to diagnose a problem, fix it right the first time, and explain it in a way that doesn't make people feel stupid. Word spreads. People bring their cars to him. Not just from the neighborhood, from across Harlem. Even a few from outside. White folks from downtown who heard about the honest mechanic who doesn't play games. Marcus treats everyone the same. Fair prices, good work, respect. And respect comes back. One afternoon, a Cadillac pulls up to the shop. Black, polished, vintage now, but maintained like it just rolled off the lot. Marcus is under a Buick, hands covered in grease. He hears the engine, smooth, familiar. He rolls out from under the car, stands, wipes his hands on a rag, and sees Bumpy Johnson stepping out of the driver's seat. Marcus's heart kicks in his chest. Not fear, not anymore, but something else, something heavier. Respect, a gratitude, history. Bumpy looks at him, takes in the shop, the sign, the young kid in the corner, changing oil on a Ford. Then he looks back at Marcus. Heard you run a good business. Marcus nods. I try. Your mother proud? Yes, sir. Bumpy walks closer, slowly, hands in his pockets. Casual. But his eyes are sharp. Always sharp. You remember the day we met? Marcus swallows. Every day. Bumpy nods. Good. Never forget where you came from. Never forget what you almost became. I won't. Bumpy looks around the shop again. You need anything? Marcus shakes his head. No, sir. We're good. Bumpy studies him. Long, quiet. Then he extends his hand. Marcus stares at it for a second, then reaches out. They shake. Firm, equal. You did good, Marcus, Bumpy says quietly. Your father would be proud. Marcus's throat tightens. He nods. Can't speak. Bumpy releases his hand, turns back toward the car. Engine's running a little rough, he says over his shoulder. You got time to take a look? Marcus grins just a little. For you? Always. They spend the next hour in the garage. Bumpy doesn't hover, doesn't ask questions, just watches. Marcus works in silence, checking hoses, adjusting timing, tuning the carburetor. The kid in the corner keeps glancing over, nervous. He knows who Bumpy Johnson is. Everyone does. But Bumpy doesn't pay him any mind, just stands, arms crossed, observing. When Marcus finishes, he lowers the hood, wipes his hands. Try it now. Bumpy gets in, turns the key. The engine roars to life, smooth, clean, perfect. He lets it idle for a moment, listening. Then he nods, and shuts it off, steps out. What do I owe you? Marcus shakes his head. Nothing. Bumpy's eyes narrow, just slightly. I pay for services rendered. You already paid, Marcus says quietly. 10 years ago. Bumpy holds his gaze. Doesn't argue. Just reaches into his jacket, pulls out his wallet, takes out 2 20s, sets them on the workbench. For the kid, he says, nodding toward the apprentice. Teach him right. Marcus looks at the money, then at Bumpy. I will. Bumpy nods once. Then he gets back in the car, starts the engine. Before he pulls away, he looks at Marcus through the open window. You're proof, he says. Marcus frowns. Of what? That power isn't just what you take. It's what you build. And then he's gone. Marcus stands there in the bay, watching the Cadillac disappear down the block. The kid walks over, eyes wide. That was Bumpy Johnson. Marcus nods. He just talked to you, like normal. Marcus picks up the 20s, hands them to the kid. Nothing about that man is normal, he says. But yeah, he talked to me. Why? Marcus looks at him, really looks, sees himself 10 years ago. Because he gave me a chance when I didn't deserve one, Marcus says, and I didn't waste it. The kid's quiet, thinking. You ever steal something? Marcus asks. The kid hesitates, then nods, ashamed. What happened? Got caught, got beat, got scared. Marcus nods. Fear works, but it don't last. You know what lasts? The kid shakes his head. Structure, discipline. Having someone believe you can be better, and then proving them right. The kid looks down. Nobody believes in me. I do, Marcus says. That's why you're here. The kid looks up, surprised. Don't waste it, Marcus says. Then he walks back to the Buick, gets back to work. The kid stands there for a moment, holding the 20s, then he folds them carefully, puts them in his pocket, and gets back to work too. 5 years later, Marcus's shop has expanded. 2 more bays, 4 employees. A reputation that stretches across the city. People trust him, not just with their cars, with their problems. He's become someone the neighborhood looks to. A quiet leader, the kind who doesn't shout but doesn't need to. He has a son now, 2 years old, named him after his father, after the man who died in Korea and never got to see his grandson grow up, but also after the man who made sure that grandson had a chance to exist at all. Marcus never tells anyone that part. No, but he knows. Mrs. Carter works part-time now. Helps at the shop, answers phones, keeps the books. She's older, slower, but happy. The kind of happy that comes from seeing your child survive, thrive, build something real. One day she's organizing receipts when the radio shifts to the news. The announcer's voice is somber. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, the legendary Harlem figure, has died. He was 62. Johnson, known for his control over Harlem's underworld and his complicated relationship with the community, passed away from a heart attack. Mrs. Carter stops. Her hands go still. Marcus is in the back. He hears it too. Comes out. Stands next to his mother. They don't say anything, just listen. The radio keeps talking about his criminal empire, his arrests, his violence, his legend. But none of it sounds right. None of it sounds like the man who walked into their apartment and asked, "Where's your mother?" None of it sounds like the man who gave them a chance. Marcus turns off the radio. We should go, he says quietly. Where? The funeral. Mrs. Carter nods. The funeral is massive. Thousands of people, lining the streets, filling the church, overflowing onto the sidewalks. People who feared him, people who loved him, people who owed him, people he saved. Marcus and his mother stand in the back. They don't push forward, don't need to be seen. They just came to pay respects. The eulogies are long. Preachers, politicians, men from the streets. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a version of Bumpy Johnson. But none of them mention a boy who tried to steal a car. None of them mention a mother who got a second chance. None of them mention the quiet investments. The families kept afloat. The boys steered straight. The structures built in shadows. That's not the story people want, but it's the one that matters. After the service, as people are leaving, an older man approaches Marcus. Well-dressed, respectful. One of Bumpy's associates. Marcus recognizes him from around the neighborhood. Marcus Carter? Marcus nods. The man hands him an envelope. Plain. Unsealed. Mr. Johnson wanted you to have this. Marcus takes it, confused. A few months ago, he had a list. People to take care of. Things to pass on. You were on it. The man nods respectfully, then disappears into the crowd. Marcus opens the envelope. Inside is a single piece of paper. Handwritten, Bumpy's handwriting, neat, controlled. Even in ink, you can feel the discipline. And it reads, Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I was tired anyway. You turned out right. Proud of that. Your father would be too. The shop's yours. The building it's in. I owned it. Didn't tell you, didn't need to. But the deed's in your name now. No rent, no landlord, just yours. Build something that lasts. Teach your son what I taught you. Power isn't what you take, it's what you leave behind. But Marcus reads it twice. His mother reads it over his shoulder. Her hand goes to her mouth. Tears fall. Marcus folds the letter carefully, puts it back in the envelope. He doesn't cry, but his jaw tightens. His eyes burn. He never stopped watching, Mrs. Carter whispers. No, Marcus says quietly. He didn't. 20 years later, Marcus is in his 40s. The shop is a neighborhood institution now. His son works there, 16, learning engines the way Marcus did. Learning respect, learning discipline. Marcus teaches him the same way Bumpy taught him. Not with words, with example. One evening, a kid tries to siphon gas from a car in the lot. Marcus catches him, walks outside. The kid freezes, drops the hose. Marcus looks at him. Calm, steady. How old are you? 14. Where's your mother? The kid blinks, confused. What? I asked where's your mother? Home, I guess. Marcus nods. Let's go see her. The kid's eyes go wide. Wait! But Marcus is already walking, and the kid follows. Because in Harlem, when a man like Marcus Carter says, follow, you follow. Later that night, Marcus stands outside his shop, watching the streets, the lights, the people. His son comes out, stands next to him. Dad? Yeah? Why'd you help that kid? Marcus doesn't answer right away, just looks out at the neighborhood. Then he reaches into his pocket, pulls out the letter. Old now, creased from being folded and unfolded 100 times. He hands it to his son. Read that. The boy reads, slowly, carefully. When he finishes, he looks up. Who was Bumpy Johnson? Marcus smiles, just a little. The man who taught me that power isn't what you take, he says. It's what you leave behind. The boy looks at the letter again, then at his father. Is that what you're doing? Marcus nods. That's what we're all doing. He puts his arm around his son's shoulders, and together they walk back inside. The lights stay on. The work continues. The legacy lives. See,